Did you know you can sponsor your favorite podcast on the Spin Market Podcast Network? Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Stockdale, host of the Spin Market Report. In quarter one of 2026, our podcasts had over 300,000 views across all platforms, totaling 1,500 hours of watch time. So whether you're promoting a product, a service, or a special event, we can help you reach the audience that matters. Get more information on how to sponsor your favorite podcast on the Spin Market Podcast Network at spinmarket.com. That's Spin Market with 2Ks.com. Spin Market, your business, your message, our platform. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This week on the Spin Market Report, we're going to do a replay episode. Last week, we had Andrea Groff on from the Yummy Crumb Bakery, and one of her neighbors, business neighbors, like right next door, we did an episode with Cori Theroux of the Green Dragon Bookshop, right downtown here in Fort Dodge, and Cori's been great. Cori's been, commenting on things and sharing stuff and liking things and just kind of interacting with our social media a lot lately. So, what better way to just kind of kick it back over to her and replay the episode we had with her. This is going to be a replay of episode number 82 with Cori from the Green Dragon Bookshop.
It's the Spin Market Report. Here's your host, Peter Stockdale.
Welcome back. It's 2026. This is episode 1, 2026. The Spin Market Report. It's Marketing Monday. You all know the drill.
It is. It is Monday, and what better way to start out 2026 than with our guest today? I'm going to leave that up to Peter, though, to talk about that.
All right. I'm sitting down with Cori from the Green Dragon Bookshop. I almost said bookstore. Green Dragon Bookshop, which if you go to the website, thegreendragonbookshop.com, that's where all your stuff's at. I do also want to say, when I was going through looking for your social medias, at the Green Dragon Bookshop, everything. It's very easy to find. I cannot stress enough, if you're out there and you're like, I don't know if mine has all the same, at handles. Double check it. It makes it so much easier to find everything, tag everything. Yeah. Beautiful. I just want to say, first and foremost, that was the first thing I noticed. Had to throw it out there right at the beginning.
It was the first thing I did as soon as I picked the name for the store. It was like, grab the same handle across every single thing, whether I'm going to use it or not. I grabbed it.
Beautiful.
And what a perfect way to start out Marketing Monday for the year than to be talking about her handle.
There's your first lesson for the year.
Yes.
And the episode's over, everybody.
Yeah. Welcome. Nice to meet you. Bye.
No, this is going to be really fun because there's a bookshop downtown in
just
Fort Dodge.
Just a block
right
away.
now. It's literally a block away from us. And while I was formulating some of these questions, it made me think about when I was a kid growing up, how much I loved reading books. Oh, yeah. And there used to be a bookshop in the mall, and I used to go in there and I'd get different books. And, throughout the different courses of my life, it's like, well, I'm going to do kids mystery books. And then we're going science fiction. And then we're going autobiography. And you kind of go through these little waves. But
yeah, it's progression.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what got you interested in starting a bookshop in town?
Oh, well, I've always wanted a bookstore all my life. And then I hit adulthood, and that's when the Evil River Company was basically eating bookstores alive. And so my family is very need to be productive type people, be successful in work and life and things. And I was like, well, bookstore doesn't sound like it's going to be a successful business model. Let's go do the things. I went to college. I was a project manager for many years. And then COVID hit, and COVID kind of made kind of a lot of us rethink what we wanted out of life and what we were doing. And at the time, I was working in an industry that was very in-person event driven. And so obviously we had none of that all of a sudden. Oh. And I was like, well, let's see if I can, make my dream happen. Give it a try. I have the money. I have the opportunity. Let's see if I can do it, because if I don't take this opportunity now, I may never get the opportunity to again. The space that my bookstore is in came available, and I was like, let's give it a try. If it doesn't work, I tried at my dream, and I can say that, and then I can continue on with project management and do the things. And here I am, and we're almost 4 years old. So next year, this year. So I know it's shock every time I think about it.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And kudos to you for, going after your dream. There's so many people that, you just go through life and your family, you talk to everybody and you get these deep conversations. There's so many people that that's what they always say. You need to chase your dream, because I didn't, and I wished I would have. And that's so awesome. That's
what I tell people all the time. I'm like, if you have the opportunity, try it, because you're just going to regret if you don't. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, But if it does, imagine what that could be.
Yes. all your
Yeah,
dreams and success is all right in front of you.
exactly.
So what's with the name Green Dragon? Did it come from something?
It did.
Okay.
I'm a huge fantasy fan. Obviously, I own a sci-fi fantasy horror bookstore. But when I was going into 8th grade, our summer reading list was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. And that was the beginning of fantasy for me. So when I sat there, you create this list of names that you want for your business. You're like, oh, how does this sound? What does this invoke as, a customer just seeing the name? And I remember listening to some random playlist I had. And all of a sudden, one of the songs from Merry and Pippin from the Tolkien were like singing, like drinking at the Green Dragon Tavern and thing. I was like, the Green Dragon, that's it. That would be so cute. We'll have a dragon as an illustration, reading books. And I was like, we're done. That's it. It worked. It was, again, the handles everywhere were available,
Yeah.
which made it really easy. And yeah, we just went with it. And I absolutely love it. Yeah.
How old were you when you read The Hobbit?
Oh, let's see, going into 8th grade. So like 11, 12.
Okay. I remember trying to read it when I was younger and it just didn't stick. And then, obviously the movies,
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, and then I gave it a second try and it was a lot more palatable the second time through. I probably just wasn't in the right headspace when I was younger to read it.
I think a lot of times we read by vibes sometimes. And sometimes if you're not in the vibe or if it's not something that you're interested in at the time, sometimes try it later. And again, if it doesn't work the second time, maybe just leave it on the shelf.
Yeah. I mean, that brings up a good point because there have been like times in my life where like reading was like really high on my list. I'd sit on my lunch break and read and things like that. I guess if you're feeling it, just go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
I'm a major vibe reader.
So I'm going to just skip
Yeah.
away here on the questions. What's the vibe right now? What are you reading right now?
Ooh, I would probably say like cozy fantasy, so slice of life. We all like right now, sometimes it feels the world is burning around us. And so we want escapism, but we want cozy escapism where it's just like someone is gently like looking at something in their life or trying to change something in their life and meeting a little bit of, resistance and working through that or working on themselves. And so I love that, but in a fantasy setting. So like a coffee shop, that's run by magical cats or things like that.
All right. So you have your Halloween costumes picked out for next
Exactly. Always. Oh, I'm always a book witch for Halloween. I love it so
year.
much.
Ooh, I like that. So what role do you hope a bookstore plays downtown here? I'm not 100% certain. I'm sure it's the only bookstore downtown, correct?
It is, yes.
Is there? I don't even know if there's any other bookstores in town anymore.
We have the Bookworm, which is like a consignment / like used bookstore.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
But not there isn't a traditional bookstore.
Not downtown. No. Mm-mm.
That's awesome. So what role do you hope that the bookstore plays downtown here?
I think just, giving people books, I think is a great thing. I also, I have a lot of trinkets at the store. So when people come in, it's not just books that are there for them. My space is really small. So of course the majority is going to be books. But I just, increasing people's like love of literature, of books, of, finding something about themselves that, they didn't know existed or realizing that there are other people that are like them out there. I think a lot of times representation is important in the literature and books that you read. And so knowing that you're not alone in the way you feel, the way you think, the way you see yourself. And if you can find that in a book, I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's find something to relate to. I don't know, maybe that's when I was a kid reading, going through all those phases, maybe that's what I was doing, is kind of trying to pick up on like who kind of feels the same way I do right now at this time in my life.
Oh, I had that major like Edgar Allan Poe gothic stage when I was like, like a little preteen Cori being like, I don't know, no one understands me. I must be dramatic about everything. Give me the Poe poetry.
That's so funny because I felt the same way until I looked around at like some other people that were reading Poe and I'm like, oh, Poe's for them. I've been ousted here. So what makes Green Dragon different than the other bookstores? Let's say somebody hasn't been in a bookstore 5-10 years. What makes it different than, your big box bookstore that they used to have been into?
I try to focus a lot on like unique reads. So I do have like the popular books that you're going to find in the genres that I carry. Because you have to have those. Those are self-staples as a business, right? And then I also, I carry like about 30% new books that are coming out in the genres that I think are worth to read. And then I also carry about 30% of like really unique books that I don't think any other bookstore is probably going to have that usually you would find. And then 10% is Cori's whims. It's like whatever I'm like, I really think this book is interesting. Nobody else might, but I do.
Well, that's kind of the benefit of having your own company. You can kind of do that.
I do.
So is that what you call it too?
I do. It's well, like they're on the shelves, but like I usually that's my like this is a Cori whim book.
Oh, I
like,
love it.
I think this is like wildly weird, but I think it's gonna find its perfect home some point.
So when you try to find books that are like, like culturally relevant, the ones that people are all reading, how do you figure out what everyone's reading? Do you go to the bestseller book list, or do you have like people that that read books and you're kind of bouncing ideas off of them? Or
Yeah, so the bookstore community talks a lot to each other. Like, I've been in corporate for so many years, and when I got into this industry, I was surprised at how much bookstores talk to each other, shared ideas, shared information, helped each other through, like issues, situations, all that kind of stuff. In fact, the majority of us Iowa bookstores all talk to each other. We have a chat group, and we talk to each other almost every day.
Awesome.
And we're always like, hey, like there's just always situations that we talk to each other with. And so we talk to each other a lot about like, which books are popular, what's moving in your market. And also it's just like knowing, like, I remember when I opened, I didn't have any idea. I had to trust what like basically was on bestseller lists. What, like I, as a person, I was probably much more Cori's whims at that point. The percentage was much higher because I didn't have the, the almost 4 years of experience of selling what my customers love. But it was a lot of research. There's a lot of material out there. And also TikTok. I mean, like the book talk exists for a reason. It's so popular for a reason, You listen and you find like really good people that are like, here's my top 10 sci-fi fantasy books, or these are the horror books that horrified me the worst that I'll have nightmares for generations for. I do have those readers too. They're like, what's your most horrifying book? And I'm like, I have a few.
I don't know. I'm never too good with horror movies. I feel like if I read a horror book, my brain would imagination would just run wild.
Yeah, before opening a bookstore, I was like, take Stephen King's like the most popular one. Like that's what horror is like. And then I started reading more horror books because it's a lot what my customers like. I have quite a few horror enthusiasts. And so I was like, okay, well, what does this genre actually mean? And I started reading some and I was like, oh, horror is more than Stephen King. Okay, we're cool here. There's lots of different things to read. So that's also really fun, especially I always tell people that story because I'm like, try something new, try a different genre. You may not like it and that's fine, but just give something a try. You never know when you'll fall in love with a new author, genre, style of book.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen King is like perfected a formula. It's like, well, we'll isolate somebody and then we'll have something here and that's the threat, and and then we have to make it 1,000 pages.
Yes.
So like finding somebody else that does horror might benefit people if they don't want to read 1,000-page book, not that, there's people out there that don't want to read 1,000-page books. He's sold plenty. So I think he's doing all right.
He's doing okay.
Yeah.
We're good here.
Are there any genres that like surprised you when people are coming into town, they're buying them, or do you think there's like any genres that are specific to like certain areas of the state? Do you think there's people that are like, over on the East Coast, they sell more of these, and over on the West Coast, they sell more of these? Or
yeah, and a lot of it's culturally related too. One of my friends owns a bookstore over in Ackley, small town, a little, like probably about an hour or so east of here along 20. And she sells a lot of like Scandinavian, Norwegian style books, because she has a larger population in that area, and then you go down to, down to like Iowa City, and it's much more like college style like reading is really popular, like that type of fiction or nonfiction books, because they have a very large college there that focuses a lot on literary arts. And so you're going to get those type of books. And then you go, Des Moines, we have a new romance bookstore that opened in Des Moines. And so, romance is obviously always has been the highest selling genre. And so we're now getting bookstores very specifically devoted to that. In fact, we have a ton of romance readers here in town, and I love them dearly. They're always like surprising me and delighting me.
It's so funny because the romance books, you just think like Fabio on a horse,
I mean, you're not wrong.
Flowing hair.
I mean, I think one of the most popular ones is not like firefighters, all like masculine and like slightly dirty and like, doing the muscle bend, but with like the firefighter gear. That's been the ones that have been like, oh, I love those covers.
Well, it's funny because like I remember being a kid and growing up and you're just like kind of just like you walk past that section like, whatever. But like you said, it's everybody reads, we're going to throw out the obvious one, like 50 Shades of Grey, obviously, like kind of pushed the envelope on that one and brought it into what I would just call commonplace in our culture, which is kind of fun. Do you feel like there's like a lot of things like that where like maybe something happened culturally to just bring a genre to light maybe?
I think Well, when we talk about romance specifically, it has always been the highest selling genre. It's just the thing is that it's considered women's literature.
Oh.
And so it wasn't considered highbrow or important enough to deem worthy of, like noting that it was the highest selling genre. And I think now that we're getting, especially like with the Me Too movement and book talk, which the majority of book talk is in fact romance books. I think you're getting a lot of opportunity for women to talk about, the genre they love and what they love to read. And so with, an opportunity to talk to it and find your communities online, it allows people to share more about the books they love and talk about the books they love, and more people to realize they're not alone in what they like and what they enjoy. And they have that sense of community. And so I think that's what's happened with romance books, and also like sci-fi, fantasy, and horror too. These alternative fiction genres that people now realize there's vast communities and other people that love them just as much as they do. And so they get an opportunity to talk and share and, be like, hey, I love this. What else will I love?
That's
or
awesome.
I don't like this, can you point me in directions of things I might like? And so you get a lot more of that together. And so I have a lot of people that come into the store and they already have their like list of books, like, oh, I love this. And I've been recommended this, or I saw this on Book Talk or a TikTok, Instagram post or things like this. And so I think, people finding their communities have helped the bookstore industry, because they get to come in and they're like, oh, I have these ideas of these amazing books. Can you point me in these directions?
I love that. And your bookstore gets to be like a slice of that in the,
Exactly.
in society here in Fort Dodge. It's really kind of cool.
And I have people that they come to my bookstore probably a couple times a year because they come for family or work or something into the community. And they're always like, I always come because you have the best book recommendations ever. And I brag about your book recommendations.
That's
And it's
awesome.
fun. Yeah. I love hearing that because, every once in a while, anytime you suggest something to someone, you're like, well, I hope you like it. Like, please like it. And, having somebody that enjoys what you recommend it always warms the heart.
That's super fun. All right. So biggest challenge opening up a bookshop here in town. What were some of the biggest challenges you went through, especially, being an independent bookshop?
I mean, I think, it's the same with like any small retail business. It's the big box stores. Like the people, especially Amazon does I call them the Evil River Company. I know I have lots of Evil River codes, but they actively try to undersell books. And so, as a small business, you have to look and see what your competitors are doing and see, what you can give that counterpoints that. And so as a bookstore, right, like any bookstore is like, what can I do for my community that the big companies don't do? And a lot of them, it comes back to like book recommendations or, being there to let kids discover the books that they love. Like, it's so beautiful to see a kid come into my store and their eyes light up and they get to go to their shelves and discover a book for themselves. And so, and that happens with adults too. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And that's what we give them as a small business, as a small bookstore, is that joy of discovery.
Nice. You have the community that, the big box company just can't offer. They just can't do it. How about the most rewarding part? Is that also like linked right back into the most rewarding part?
That is the most rewarding. I have a story that's this. I have a family, they come in for the holidays or for, when the kids are off for spring break. And they come and they visit me when they come in to visit family. They're from like, I think, Illinois or Indiana. And if you're listening to this, hi, shout out, love you. But their son came in and he wanted a book recommendation. And so I gave him this graphic novel series that I really enjoy that he hasn't discovered yet. He went home. He loved it. He got all the books. He then convinced all of his kids in his class to read the book.
Wow.
He started a book club at his school for these books. And then he loved it so much that he petitioned the school to bring his author to school, which they did last year.
Oh, wow.
That is-
Yes.
What a story.
Right? Exactly. And that all started from giving one book recommendation to a kid. So I think when you give kids advocacy and you give them an opportunity to enjoy something, they can do so much with it. And so every time I think about that, it makes me cry a little bit because, it's just beautiful to see, a kid and an adult like just find something and just discover a passion.
Yeah. I mean, I wish graphic novels were more popular when I was growing up.
Yes.
It's mostly comics, and things that were kind of graphic novels. I don't even know if they were called graphic novels at the time.
Yeah, I think they were just like comics.
Yeah.
Is usually what they defaulted to.
And it wasn't until I started doing the, leaning into like the manga, the Japanese stuff, because it was big over there. And now you're starting to see a lot of it pour back over to here. It's really kind of cool. I wish I was a little bit, more into that when I was younger, but
Yeah, the manga is huge. I do a lot of special order for manga. We have a very large community here too that does the manga. And obviously, I'm a small bookstore, so I can't hold it all because some of those are like vast numbers of volumes.
Yeah.
Yes, but I try to keep volume 1 around, and then also ones that I love. I read a lot of manga, so I always like have my little favorites.
That's fun. I think that was one of the last genres where I just kind of like went into a bookstore and was like, let's just try a couple of these. And I bought like 3 of the first book of the series. And one of them, I was like, I'm going to read this. And I went like 28 into the books into it. And it's like,
They're great that way.
I guess I like this. You know, you don't know what you don't know until you try it out. But
yeah. That's why I'm always like, give it something to try. You never know.
that's so fun. All right. Supporting small businesses. Have you seen a lot of support come out, you know, for you in the last 4 years supporting what you do?
Yes. And one of the biggest things, you know, sometimes when you're a small business and especially a small bookstore, sometimes you get kind of like tunnel vision after a while. You're like, okay, these are my customers and like, you know, this. And it's not that you intentionally do that. You're just so focused on running your business and doing this that sometimes you forget the joy that you bring and the uniqueness that you are. And so this year will be our 3rd one, but I started the Iowa Indy Bookstore Tour because I wanted to do like a book hop, kind of like Quilts do, but bookstores in large cities do. And at the time I looked around and the closest bookstores were like an hour plus from Fort Dodge besides me. And I was like, well, there's not really a way to do that really easily. I was like, well, guess we're going statewide.
There you go.
And so beginning of January 2024, I emailed every bookstore that I knew in Iowa. And I was like, hey, I have this wild, crazy idea that I would like to do as a community. Are you on board? And 35 of them were like, yes.
Awesome.
Yes. And so that was our first year. We had 37 and then we went down to 36 and then we had 2 closed during the center of it, which happens in small business life. But yeah, it was amazing turnout. And the best thing that came out of that was how many people were supporting bookstores. They came out in droves. They were like, oh my gosh, this is great. I get to discover Iowa. I get to go to my independent bookstores. I get to read books. And they did. And they did it the next year. It broke records. I think we had almost 3 times as many participants in year 2. So I can't wait to see, you know, what we did this year. My calculations for 2025 by the end of it is we put $500,000 into independent bookstores over the 2 summers.
That's wild.
Yes.
And so my goal is to say $1 million at the end of year 3. That's my goal.
That's cool.
And I can't also calculate how many, because with the bookstores, we all support other small businesses around us. We give recommendations on our website of like places to go for like sandwich shops, coffee shops, little, you know, retail things. Each bookstore has a list of it next to them on our website. And so, but we can't calculate that. We can't calculate how much those people are going into those small businesses. But many times communities that are very small communities that are around independent bookstores have noticed during the summer, like an increase in sales or growth or customers coming through them. So we are an ecosystem. And so, it's just absolutely fabulous to see how many people come out and are like, we're supporting a small business. We're supporting, you know, independent bookstores. We're supporting our communities. We want literacy to continue.
What all does the Iowa Bookstore road trip, you know, kind of entail? Like what do people do from like one place to the next? Is there like a little passport book they can get stamped or something like that?
So for the Iowa Indie Bookstore Tour, we start July 1st and we run through the end of September, which I think is like the 30th. And what happens is at your first stop, you get a passport. And then each time you support an independent bookstore that's on that passport, you get a stamp. And at the end of the summer, you turn in that passport and you get an opportunity. We do a prize pool. And so we draw prizes. So the more stamps you have, the more chance you have to win a prize, which is a gift card to the independent bookstore of your choice that's on the tour.
Oh, cool.
So again, like it's really cool because the prizes go back to our independent bookstores. So it's kind of like a little ecosystem in itself. And we have a lot of people, let's see, I think this year by day 18 of the tour, someone had gone to all 45 bookstores in 2025. This year we're hoping to have 50 plus independent bookstores. So it's always fun.
So how many miles did that person have to drive?
A lot.
Did you calculate that?
It was actually interesting because we had 2 groups. One group was 2 best friends that wanted to go to all of them. And the other one was a family from Idaho that was going state to state. They had taken the year off and they were going state to state and doing lots of fun things. And when they heard about our tour, they decided this is the way to discover Iowa because they love bookstores and they love, you know, like learning things about states. And so they did the tour while they were visiting Iowa. And actually on the last day when they were going to their last bookstores, they both met at one bookstore just serendipitously. And so it was a race that day to see who would turn in their passports first.
Oh, wow.
And so the family from Idaho turned in their passports first. They were like, I think about like 2 hours ahead of the best friends. But I just thought that was how serendipitous and wild. Yeah. Like they had just inadvertently decided that Des Moines was going to be their thing. And they just happened to go to Storybook Book Pub in downtown at the same time. And so it was really fun.
That's cool.
I just love to hear the other things that were able to come off of that. I mean, and you had no idea.
No, we had no idea. It wasn't planned. It was completely like a random coincidence. And it was absolutely adorable because I got to meet and chat and talk and we got a picture. And so, on our social media, we're like, oh, it's a race to the finish. Because, again, it was posted in our chat group. Because, again, we all have to talk to each other during the tour, too. And so, it was really fun. So we put it on our social media and people were like, oh, my gosh.
and so gratifying to hear stories like that out of something so simple.
It is. And it makes us cry because like sometimes we forget how loved we are as independent bookstores, and that just the amazing amount of support we had from our readers and our communities coming out for this tour was amazing. And it's fun because when we announced for our second year, when we announced, oh, hey, we're coming back, these are the dates, stay tuned for who the bookstores are. People were like, we already taken our days off. We have our car trippers planned. And this year they're also like, okay, so when is it going to be announced? And I was like, the beginning of April is when we'll announce, because I make signups end at a certain time because, obviously we have an artist who does a map and all this kind of stuff. And so I told them the beginning of April and they're like, yes, all right. But I was like, it's the same dates. And they're like, yes, I can take my days off. So they're already planning to take their days off for it. So it's really kind of fun. You get to hear like that, and another thing is like, I hear, like I get people stopping in the store because, I'm the one that starts it. So they always kind of like make me some type of holy land to like stop. They're like, we must stop at the bookstore that has started the whole tour. And they tell me their stories and like how, they got started on the trip, how they discovered the tour, who they're going on the tour with. Like a couple of them, like that's how they see their besties in Iowa. Is that's their way to see each other every year is they do the tour now. And or there's like school librarians that's their summer off. And so they take their 8 days. I had one Fort Dodge teacher. She did the whole tour the first year. She had all 35 stops. And she was so inspired that this year, instead of doing the tour again, what she did is she made her own from Minneapolis or Minnesota. And so she went to 52 independent bookstores in Minnesota in the space of 8 days.
Oh my.
How do you even do that?
I don't know. I was like, you are genius. Like she's like, it was a lot of planning and it was a lot of like knowing where to go and where to stop.
That's wild.
Yeah. And Minnesota is thinking about doing their own. And so I was like, can I just give them your contact information so you can tell them what it was actually like to try and go to so many bookstores in the whole state? So they're chatting now, but I was like, this is amazing that we're, she's like, yeah, I might do like Wisconsin next year or maybe, Missouri or something and do the same thing. And so, it's just going beyond Iowa too, right? Like we're getting other bookstores in other states getting their own support as well.
That's
really
really
started
cool.
out with just one little idea.
Yeah, I know, it's wild, right? And that was me. Like, I think it was like January 5th or something. I was like, if I don't email everybody right now, this isn't going to happen in 2024. And so, yeah, Thank goodness I did.
Good job.
That's really cool. It'd be fun to get some like testimonials from these people or
Right.
like get their stories like recorded when they come in to say hi to you or whatever and put them online.
I think maybe next year we will. Like a lot of it was like we wanted a big thing of mine is capturing data because you can't tell people the impact of your event without data.
Right.
And so a big thing that I've pushed the last in 2024 and 2025 was getting how many passports we set out and how many stamps, which is how I can say that we've supported, $500,000 in independent bookstores in 2 years is because we've had that data. And so, yeah, it's really fun. One of the bookstores in 2025, she actually got where everybody was from that came through. And I think she had something like 28 states in the United States. She had almost every county in Iowa. And then she also had a couple countries that did the tour through her bookstore.
Wow.
Right? It was amazing. And so it was fun because like towards the end of the tour, people were like running to her store so they could mark off their county of Iowa. And like one guy was like, no, I have the day off. I'm going to go do it. And then he got there in like 2 hours before somebody from the same county had already marked off his county.
Oh, no.
It was so sad. But no, it was fun. It was, we have these amazing things. And like our first year, we had one bookstore. She had construction in front of her bookstore. And she basically was like, you saved my summer. like people specifically had to seek me out for the tour, and they had to come find me through the construction. And she's like, I probably would have had so much less sales this summer. And like, you basically saved my store this year.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So you've got that coming up this year. Are there any other events? I want to say I saw you had like a book subscription service on your website that's starting, I guess now, January.
Yes.
So.
This month, we're going to send out when the book gets published later this month. We're hoping to have signed copies for it. I've been wanting to do this for a while. We love subscription boxes because all the fun things. So yeah, we're starting them this year. We're doing a fantasy and sci-fi one. We're doing horror because everyone really loves horror as a genre. So, and I don't see a lot of those. So we have a lot of customers that love that. And then also lit RPG. A lot of people, that's an emerging genre because this book series called Dungeon Crawler Carl has gotten super popular lately. And so it's under the genre of lit RPG, which is literature based on role-playing games. So like Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to do a subscription for that as well. Because a lot of people are like, well, what do I read next? I've read this series that's super popular, but what's next? And so my sister actually happens to be an avid reader of lit RPG. And I dabble a bit in it. I enjoy it myself. And so I was like, we would like to share the titles that we have found and loved in this genre with other people that would like to read it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So like lit RPG, is that, I know, D&D, all right, so I got that, but like, is it just a book that's based on this or is it there like a gameplay involved somehow too?
It's kind of, so when you're leveling through a role-playing game, it's kind of like playing a video game where when you hit level, say 1 or 2, you get spells and abilities and things like that. Mm-hmm. And they've taken that and put it into book form. Oh. So usually the character has gotten into a situation or been pulled into an alternate world, or they suddenly have the ability to level up.
Okay.
And so it goes through and it kind of like, it's basically, think of like if the Hobbit suddenly could see his abilities as he gets stronger. So like, yeah, so as he goes through that adventure, he was like, oh, I can suddenly like swing a sword harder, or like, oh, I get to pick if I want to pick up this ring of invisibility that has like lots of question marks underneath of others. So yeah, it's very similar to that. And there's some that are very complex and into that character building style, or it's more lighter. One I'm reading right now is called Merchant Crab, and it's basically a crab that accidentally becomes a player, and so he has no idea what any of the system means. So he's just like, this dang thing. And so it's really fun because it's a very, you're learning with the crab about what the system means.
Who would have thought a crab?
Right? I know. And it's really funny because all he wants to do is he becomes a merchant, a trader for adventurers, and all he wants to do is get pastries. He discovered apple pie.
A crab that wants pastries. And
basically. So that's basically like lit RPG is that funny. There's more serious ones, but a lot of it is just like really fun, wholesome humor.
I absolutely love that. That brings me to something that's not on here. People that write books, sometimes I'm just like, how did you think of this?
Right?
How do you think of something like this? It's wild. Like I could fledge out a tiny idea that might get you a few paragraphs, but like to complete it start to finish, it just blows my mind.
It blows mine too. Like people create these whole worlds and these universes and these characters and these interactions, and then they do in series. Yeah. Like, how did you keep that straight? And it's funny. One of my favorite authors is Tamora Pierce, and she's been writing since the 80s. But every once in a while on her social media, she'd be like, "Hey, Phantom, I completely spaced and forgot who such and such's like job was," and so someone will immediately like tell her because she's forgotten. It's just like it's easier than going into my notes. You guys know.
So in depth. That's wild to create a story so in depth that you can't even keep track of it. But you have enough fans that they can keep track. That's cool.
I know, right? You use your resources.
Oh, that's great. We had talked a little bit about like what people are reading, but how are people reading it? And I almost feel bad asking this. Are people reading digitally or physically?
I think it's a mixture of both. I am dyslexic, so I find that ebooks, because I can have dyslexia-friendly fonts, I can increase my reading speed and comfort of reading. Not to mention that I love the smell of books and I love to hold the books. I feel it's much more gratifying to like close a book and be like, I have finished this thing.
Oh yeah.
But I also love audiobooks too. I love driving in the car and listening to my murder mysteries or my nonfictions. And so I think entertainment takes all forms, and it's also accessibility. Mm-hmm. Like as I said, dyslexia, ebooks have dyslexia friendly fonts. Some people, my sister, when she goes to read a physical book, she has to read word by word, but when she listens to an audiobook, her reading speed increases greatly. And so, what works for you works great. And there is actually every single way to support my bookstore with each of these models. You can buy ebooks off of my shop at, bookshop.org. You can buy audiobooks from libro.fm for my store. You can buy books from me, like physical books directly from me. So there are ways if you want to support, me, or if you're from a different town, your own independent bookstore, in all of these ways to get a book.
Amazing. So
It's fabulous.
Let's settle the debate right now.
Sure.
Is listening to an audiobook, does it count?
Heck yeah.
All right. So
I mean, it increases my books read per year.
All right.
I keep track. I think I'm at like 168 this year, for 2025.
Oh, wow.
I know. Yeah, I read about 158 books in 2025.
That's like a book every other day.
And that
That's
doesn't
insane.
count manga, because I can't count manga because I read so much of it that like just putting it into the app is really hard.
Oh, okay. All right. That's so crazy.
That's wild.
All right.
I don't even realize that. I was just like, oh, you just look at it one day and you're like,
That's so. What about like are there any like local partnerships you have? Like, let's say like schools or other businesses, or are there local authors you've partnered with? In any capacity?
we have several local authors. We have a local author section. I am small, so having an author event is really hard at my location right now. It's less than 300 square feet, so getting people to come in for a signing for that isn't really feasible. But we do have a local author section. So if we have authors that have grown up in Fort Dodge, that have their books, are authors that live here in Fort Dodge. And then, we work a lot with other like events. Like I'll try to have things at, like River Hops here in town. Like if we want to have like a group meeting for things, I'm happy to support book clubs too that are here in town. I can't obviously have them in my location, but if you have a book club, you can always reach out and we can, work on getting you the books that you need. I'm also on the board of the Friends of the Library here in town. And so, I try to work with them for things as well. I'm hoping to work with the schools next year to help, make a literacy program for children. So kind of like create rewards for their literacy program. That's a goal of mine. I always want kids to read more books.
And I was listening to, it was in the middle of the night. Woke up and Jennifer Hudson's show was on, and she had a young boy that just absolutely loves to read books. And I think he was like 8 years old.
Yeah.
His vocabulary was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was just
incredible.
really impressive listening to him talking and being so cohesive in his words and his sentences and using big words that I had never even heard before out there. And I was impressed.
I remember that, like having friends. I'm like, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, having friends, and they have like younger siblings or younger cousins, and it's like this kid speaks in full sentences almost better than I do. And it's like what's he just reads a lot, and that's it helps you structure all that stuff, and I don't know, it's good for you.
I mean, and it introduces you to a lot of words, and I think it also introduces you to how to use those words, right? It's not just seeing a word and being like, oh yeah, I can do that. It's understand the context in which you use the word, because if you can take that and you can move it forward into something else, in a conversation, into talking to other people.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, especially with like the context, you get. The book is the context. They're like, the authors are good at explaining how things are happening, and then you don't even really have to question what the big word is most of the time.
Exactly.
Because you can just gather it from whatever else is going on.
Yeah.
You said 300 square foot is your bookstore?
Yeah, no, it's under 300 square feet.
All right. I got a fun question for you. If there's, let's say you can knock a wall down, there's one of the businesses next door leaves, sorry, whoever.
Well, then you would take away from the cookie.
Well, we have the other side too. We'll take the other side.
Okay.
Maybe you're going vertically. I don't know.
There we go.
You're going to put it in a basement. But like, what if you could have anything, open checkbook, what would you do? Would you like a little cafe, a little, like what exactly?
I mean, I think that's the dream. Yeah. Is like have bigger space so we can do more things, have more books, more fun trinkets, maybe have author events. I'd love to have get authors here in Fort Dodge. I think would be fabulous.
Have you thought about working with Bloomers?
Yeah, Bloomers, they did just open recently last month.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the problem is they're so far too.
Sure.
But I mean, it's always a work in progress, because also as a business, like when you have an event at your space, people also will shop in your space. Right. And if you take them out of your space, they won't shop in your space. So it's always, as a business, you need to consider, always all your advantages and opportunities. But yeah, as if I could have more space, I could have more events. There's some there's some places that also rent their bookstores out for like wedding parties, like not for the wedding itself, but like for bridesmaids parties or, you know, somebody's birthday or things like that. That's always an opportunity. And then also just, you know, it'd just be nice to, like have a little like tea shop or something with like little baked goods. Because before I opened a bookstore, I had a gourmet shortbread company.
Oh, really?
That was what I did during COVID.
Well,
yeah.
Maybe that's the next thing. You never know. Just bring
the two together.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's the ultimate dream, right? Is just, I'm not too big, but just a little bit more elbow room.
Mm-hmm.
We've been a little like, you know, against the walls the last like year or two. So we're hoping for a bigger space.
There's some fun about that though. Going into a place and it's cozy where you're just like, nice. They took advantage of everything here.
Yeah. Also, when you walk into my store, it looks like a wizard's library, and so that was very intentional. Because you know, I realized that I had a small space, and when I was envisioning it, I was like, when someone walks into my space, they need to be awed by the way it looks.
Oh.
You can't just
odd. Not ODD.
No, just be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I get that every time someone walks in my books, they're like, whoa.
That's super fun.
Yeah. So I'm also a little like trepidatious of losing that if I get a new space. So I'm very, very considerate about, you know, what a location would look like in the future. So
We could always have that type of an area in part of it, and spread things out a little bit more. You know, just like different rooms of a house.
Exactly. Work in progress.
Yes.
It kind of reminds me, like, I remember going into a bookstore once, and this is probably 20 years ago, but the top floor was like, I don't want to say like clean. It was just, it looked like a regular bookstore. But when you went downstairs, that's where they had all their extra stuff. And that was like, you know, the wizard's place.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, there's like, it was almost like when they go in Ghostbusters into the basement to find the first ghost. And it's just like walls and shelves and shelves and walls. It's like, this is pretty cool down here.
Oh yeah. I love the treasure hunt bookstores. They're my favorite. Someone asked me one time, they're like, what's your favorite bookstore? And I was like, oh, the treasure hunt, like used bookstores. They're my favorite. They're like, but you don't have that. I'm like, but it takes decades to create a great bookstore like that. And I was like, I am a new bookstore. Like we're going to do my way.
Yeah.
But like, but it's not your dream. I'm like, but we can all like different things. I might make a coffee shop, but that doesn't mean that I don't love, you know, like pastries from somebody else.
True. That's true.
Very true.
Very good point.
Right.
I think it's one of the funnest things about this conversation so far is you've thought about a lot of different avenues. You've thought about this a lot, and you've considered a lot of different things that need to be considered by somebody with a small business. Yeah. This wasn't just something you threw together, flight by night operation. This is something you thought a lot about.
Sometimes it feels like that. When I got the space became available, and I basically was like, you know what? Literally, I looked at it and I was like, we should do our dream of a bookstore. And I was like, wait, what? Like, you know, when that wild, crazy thought enters your head, you're just like, whoa, double take here. What'd we just think? And and so I signed the contract on February 2nd, in 2022. Yeah, 2022. And I was just like, I guess we're opening a bookstore. And then I opened June 1st of that year. And I was just like, it literally was just like crazy mode. I had no previous planning of opening a bookstore before I basically looked at that location. And I told my family, I was like, hey, so yeah, you know, we're going to change things. And like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to open a bookstore. And they're like, what? Hey. And they're like, all right, let us know how we can help.
Oh, I love that. At least they were positive.
No, my family were just like absolutely behind me 100. They're always the kind that's like, if you have an opportunity to do something, take it.
Nice. All right. So this is going to be very open-ended. What if somebody came in and they're like, recommend me a book? I don't care what genre. What would be the book? A very dry recommendation of. Sure.
This is one of my favorite ones to start. It's Dreadful by Caitlin Rozakis. Okay. And what it is, it's about an evil overlord who forgets he's an evil overlord. And he has like a captured princess in his dungeon. And he's got goblin minions being like, boss, boss, boss. And he's got other evil overlords being like, we're coming on Thursday to do that thing. And he's like, yes, that thing. And then like the kingdom is trying to get back their captured princess. And so craziness just goes on. And it's a one-shot book. It's hilariously funny. And you can just go by pure vibes. But at the same time, he's asking himself, you know, he's like, I was a pretty trash, terrible human before I lost my memory. Do I want to do that again?
Yeah, that's true.
And so that's the entire question while all this hilarity is going down. And so I start there because that gives me a depth of what someone, they're like, no. Or they're like, oh, that sounds good. And I'm like, okay, I know which track we're going down now.
I love that though. It's kind of a goofy setting and a goofy story, but it's like they still has all of the character development in it, which is Honestly, the best part,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, the best part about reading books, when you get to the end and the main character now can look back at the whole book and be like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I'd do this a little differently this time.
And you can also like, you can read it just for the pure fun of it, or you can like have that deeper conversation about like, oh, if I forgot, would I want to continue being myself or would I want to try to be a new human? So, you know, there's 2 tracks you can go down with this book, and you know, either one's good.
I love it. Where do you see Green Dragon Bookshop in the next 5-ish years? Still here?
I would love to still be here. I love my readers. I love my community. And, you know, we're right now in Fort Dodge is really working on developing the downtown more. And so I'd love to be a part of that. Like, I love being downtown Fort Dodge. Like, there's this beautiful community of small businesses and people that are behind making it grow and be better. And I really want to see where that goes.
Yeah, that'll be great. All right. I do want to say one more time before we get to the final question, thegreendragonbookshop.com and Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at The Green Dragon Bookshop. I'll put everything down below. You don't have to search for it. Just scroll in the description, click all the links, click follow, send message, say hi. Say, you know, Spin Market Report sent you
Do the
over.
follows.
I was going to say, be sure to go in if you do and let her know, because she likes data.
I
Yes.
love data.
And that's one thing that we always push here with marketing is you've got to collect the data so that you really understand what your market is and not be, it takes the emotion out of the situation. So you can really, okay, this is really something I can gauge.
Yeah, and if you need to know, because especially as a business, you have to know information. You have to know where things are coming from, why people are coming to you, where they're coming from, because that way you could be like, oh, that was success. Especially with like advertising and marketing, you're like, did you come in because of that, or did you just come in because you walked off the street?
Right.
I do get a lot of people that just they walk to a business that's next door and they're like, oh, there's a bookstore here, I get to go in, or oh, hey, you're open and I wanted to walk in. Or there's a person that was like, I saw your ad and I decided to come in. I had someone do that recently I made an ad somewhere and they came in, they're like, I've never been in, didn't know you exist. I saw the ad, I came in, I wanted the thing. And I was like, yes, thank you, that worked. I need to know that.
That's marketing. You're not trying to you're not trying to sell something to somebody. You're just showing them that this exists, and if you want it, this is where it's at.
Exactly.
And that it worked perfectly in that situation.
It did. And I was like, oh, so it does work.
So I'm coming down to the last question. I ask everyone the same question, but can you name a time in your life where marketing impacted you and you possibly didn't know it until afterwards?
Oh man.
This could be at the bookstore, personal
Okay.
stuff.
I honestly, jingles. I literally like jingles get in your head and they never leave.
But haven't you noticed that there's not as many jingles as there used to be?
And I think honestly, it's been replaced these days with a lot of like the TikTok sound bites, because those get in my head and they never leave these days. Like, and it's not the whole song. It's just that repeat thing that you hear for like 15 seconds, 30 seconds on TikTok. And so I think maybe we need to make those jingles come back.
Well, everybody used to have a jingle at one time.
Everybody.
I mean, I'm just over here in my head. I'm like, buy men and advanced auto parts. I'm like going through all of these. I used to hear them on the commercials, on the radio all the time, and they're still burned in my head.
Great.
They're great. Yes. Oh my gosh.
One word. And you know what that was.
Yep.
You know exactly. That's Tony the Tiger.
Yep. That was Thurl Ravenscroft was the guy who did the voice on
really?
that, and he also sang "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." For those that don't know, if you listen, think about it. It's the same person.
It is the same person, yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
But we need the jingles back.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great way to start off 2026. That's a perfect answer.
Yeah.
I haven't had anybody say that, and I haven't even thought about that.
Bring the whimsical back.
Oh, it's so fun.
Year of whimsy.
Oh, that's so good. 2026, the year of whimsy. So that's fun. I do want to say, Cori, thank you for joining us. Again, all the links and descriptions are going to be down below. Anything you're looking book, literally anything book-wise. You need a recommendation. You need to send it to somebody. You need something for, birthday, Christmas, any sort of holiday.
Yeah.
This is where it's at. You said you got some knickknacks in there too. If people,
Yeah, we got lots of trinkets. We do gift cards. So if you know a bookish person and you want to like let them have, a shopping spree. If you're a business and you want to, gift your employee being like, oh, you've worked really hard, go on a book shopping spree.
I love that. I love that so much. All right. But thank you very much for joining us. Cheryl's
you
got
for
something
having
for you
me.
on the way out here.
Yes. Well, Buster, the bulldog, is our mascot. And Buster, the reason he's our mascot is we are bulldogs to get you digitally online and be found online. Yeah. But we also want you to have lots of good luck. And so Buster loves it when you rub his head for good luck. Yes, thank you very much.
As a dog person, I completely approve.
Oh, great. And Buster approves too.
Awesome. Thank you, Cori.
Thank you for having me.
This is awesome.
This was great.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.